The morning Marcus Reed mopped the gleaming floors of Vantage Corp's 42nd floor. He did what he always did. He kept his head down, moved quietly, and tried to be invisible. He had learned long ago that invisibility was a kind of armor. That if you made yourself small enough, the world's cruelty couldn't find you. But on this particular Tuesday, with his 9-year-old daughter Lily standing beside him because her school had a water main break and he had nowhere else to bring her, the world found him anyway, and it found him in the worst possible way. CEO Diana Harlow stepped off the elevator in a cloud of expensive perfume and impatience. She was the kind of woman who measured people by their title and their suit, and she had never once learned the name of a single janitor in the building she owned. She saw Marcus and Lily immediately, the child's small sneakers squeaking against the wet floor he'd just finished, and something inside her snapped. In front of a hallway full of employees, she pointed her finger directly at Marcus and told him that this was a place of business, not a daycare, that people like him had no business bringing their personal problems to work, and that if he couldn't figure out how to keep his life separate from his job, she would find someone who could. Her voice echoed. People froze. And Lily, that sweet, quiet little girl, looked up at her father with wide, frightened eyes. Marcus said nothing. He placed one steady hand on his daughter's shoulder, nodded once at the CEO, and went back to work. If you believe in kindness and second chances, this story is for you. Please like this video, drop a comment below, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe to Kindness Corner, because stories like this one deserve to be told. What Diana Harlow didn't know, what none of them knew, was the weight of the life Marcus carried behind those quiet eyes. 7 years earlier, Marcus Reed had been Dr. Marcus Reed, one of the most decorated trauma surgeons in the country. He had operated in war zones. He had held beating hearts in his hands. He had been featured in medical journals, had trained residents, had turned down a department chair position at Johns Hopkins because he believed medicine was most powerful when it was closest to those who needed it most. He had a wife named Claire, a baby daughter, and a future that seemed lit from the inside. Then the accident happened. A drunk driver. A rainy overpass. Claire was gone in minutes, and Marcus spent 3 days in surgery himself, and when he finally woke up, Lily was asleep in a chair beside his hospital bed, too young to understand and old enough to feel everything. The grief that followed wasn't the kind that passes. It was the kind that reorganizes a person entirely. Marcus developed a tremor in his right hand, barely noticeable to anyone else, devastating to a surgeon. He tried to push through it. He dropped a clamp during a procedure. No one was hurt, but Marcus walked out of the OR that evening, went home to his daughter, and never went back. He couldn't risk someone else's life for the sake of his pride. So he rebuilt. Not glamorously, not the way people do in movies. He rebuilt the way real people do, slowly, painfully, around a child who needed him to keep going. He took whatever work he could find that kept him close to Lily. He cleaned offices. He fixed things. He showed up every single day with steady hands doing a different kind of work, and he never once spoke about who he used to be. But 2 people in that building knew. James Whitfield, the head of facilities, had hired Marcus as a personal favor to a mutual friend and had kept his secret faithfully for 2 years. And Dr. Priya Anand, Vantage Corp's chief medical officer, who happened to be standing in that hallway on Tuesday morning when Diana Harlow pointed her finger at a man who had once saved her mentor's life on an operating table in Baltimore. Priya didn't say a word in that hallway. But she went straight to her office and sent an email. By Thursday morning, Diana Harlow had received a package on her desk. Inside was a printed article from the New England Journal of Medicine, dated 7 years prior. The headline read, "Surgeon Marcus Reed performs record 8-hour emergency reconstruction, credits team in characteristic humility." There was a photograph, younger, clean-shaven, in scrubs, mid-laugh, but unmistakably the same man. Attached was a handwritten note from Priya that said only, "He mopped the floor you stood on when you humiliated him. You might want to think about that." Diana sat alone in her office for a long time. She found Marcus on Friday morning in the parking garage, loading his cart for the day's work. Lily dropped off at school, the world already asking things of him before 8 in the morning. Diana approached without her usual armor of authority. She looked smaller somehow, without an audience. She told him she had been wrong. Not just about the other day, but about the way she had always moved through the world, as though the value of a person could be read from their uniform. She told him that she didn't fully understand what he had been through, but that she was sorry. Genuinely sorry. Marcus looked at her for a moment. Then he told her that he didn't need an apology as much as she might think. That he had made peace with his life. That his daughter laughed every single day, and that had become his measuring stick for everything. He said it without bitterness, without performance, just the plain truth of a man who had survived enough to know what actually mattered. If this story moved something in you, if it reminded you that you never truly know what someone else is carrying, please hit that like button, share this with someone who needs to be reminded to be kind, and subscribe to Kindness Corner. Your support keeps these stories alive. Word spread through Vantage Corp the way quiet things do, not with fanfare, but with a kind of reverence. People held elevator doors a little longer. They learned the names of the people who cleaned their offices. Diana Harlow launched a company-wide dignity initiative, and while some people rolled their eyes at first, others felt something shift inside them. Marcus kept his job. He didn't go back to surgery, the tremor remained, and more than that, he had found something unexpected in the work of showing up, of being present in the unglamorous corners of the world where most people look away. Before you go, drop a comment below that simply says, "Kindness matters," and let's fill this space with something good. The world could use it today. Lily grew up knowing her father as the man who mopped floors and also the man who had once held hearts in his hands, and she never once saw a difference between those two things. To her, both were simply him, steady, quiet, and more powerful than anyone in that building had ever stopped long enough to see.